Good day, class. In this video, we are going to study the herbs. Clearing heat and relieving toxicity refers to the herbs that have the main actions of clearing heat and removing toxicity. And there are many uses for a heat and toxicity syndrome. Most of them are bitter and cold, some of them sweet and cold or salty cold. The main function is to clear heat and relieving toxicity. When we talk about the toxicity, it refers to fire toxicity, heat toxicity, the snake bites, or the cancer toxicity. As you can see, these terms, we don't really use the common, but when we use these different terms, they all refers to toxicity. The reason why we use toxicity, we only want to emphasize that's the degree of heat or how severe the disease is. So the fire toxicity is hotter than the heat toxicity. And the cancer toxicity, it actually refers to cancer, but why we add the toxicity? The reason is because here we use the direct translation. So cancer in Chinese medicine, some cancer we think that it's very difficult to treat, and then that's considered as a kind of toxicity. So, and also because some type of cancers, the patient may present with a heat symptom. So we can use the herbs that can clear heat and relieve toxicity. We can use this group of herbs to treat the cancer. Also from the pharmaceutical analysis, some herbs in this group also has been found that they have the function to limit the cancer, growth. So, and also the toxicity, when we mention the toxicity in acupuncture, apart from the heat, apart from the fire, we also refers to, especially we refers to the inflammation on the skin. So the skin disorder, the ulcers, the inflammations on the skin, we all refer to toxicity. That's also why in this category, you will see many of the herbs in this category have the function to relieve the skin inflammation. Heat and toxicity in upper and in different jiao, in 3 jiao. It can be the heat syndrome. It can cause unconsciousness or abnormal consciousness. It depends on where. So this means it affects the heart. It can result in bleeding because of the heat. The heat is a yang pathogen. As you can see the fire flame, it can move outwards. So the heat is more likely to move outwards. So the patient may present with eyes problem, sore eyes, throat problems such as sore throats, face, peritonitis, skin, sores on the skin, breast, mastitis, large intestine, dysentery, ulcers in the large intestine, lung, abscess. Toxicity also can refer to the accidents from water and fire, so the burns. So which means the herbs in this category, some of them also can be used to treat the burns, the fire burns, or from the hot water. 金银花, bitter and cold, can eliminate the fire and toxicity, so it can be used to the heat or toxicity in the upper part of the body. It's pungent and fragrant, so it can disperse. It can disperse the pathogens in the weight defensive level. You also can dispel the pathogens in qi defensive level. When we use for weight defense level, we add 连翘, the one we're going to introduce in the next slides. In qi level, we're going to add 石膏之母, we have introduced already. So in this situation, we can help to relieve the heat in the qi level when you add 石膏 and 之母. 连翘 bitter, cold and light eliminate the wind heat in the long meridian. You can use for weight defensive level. It is the hot meridian enters. It is the chief herb for ulcers. The ulcers refers to all kinds of ulcers, internal and external, in the organs or on the skin. The reason is because in 黄帝内经 it described that all ulcers is responsible, the heart is responsible for all ulcers, and this 连翘 is very good for the heart, relieving the heart heat. So it is good for different kinds of ulcers. The herbs for clearing heat and cooling blood have the main actions of clearing heat and cooling blood and are indicated for a heat syndrome in the blood level. So the heat in the blood level or yin level, yin and blood level, let's compare with wei, defensive, and qi level, right? We have talked about the 4 levels. So now we talk about the blood level, qi and blood level, yin and blood. So qi and blood level. Now we talk about the third and the fourth level. It's in a bigger category of blood level. The patient will present with fever, worse in the evening, relief during the day, thirst, with no desire to drink, red tongue, less coating, firm, speedy pulse. The patient may present with insomnia, palpitation, that's due to the heat in the heart. The patient also may present with bleeding. 异黄, we have mentioned in the previous slides. In some situations, we can add 地黄, especially to nourish the yin. 地黄, bitter, sweet, and cold. Bitter and cold can eliminate the heat. Sweet and cold can nourish yin. So it can clear heat and nourish and cool the blood. It also can nourish yin. When they cool the blood, it also can stop bleeding. Cold in the blood level can cool the blood, stop bleeding. The reason for this is that this bleeding is due to heat. So the patient will present with a red tongue. If the bleeding due to deficiency, 地黄 doesn't work. In deficiency syndrome, deficiency heat, it can be used for nourishing yin and eliminate heat. So that's the 地黄. A patient in this situation, they may present with thirsty, then we can use. And thirsty, if it's due to yin deficiency, we also can add 知母, the one we have introduced previously. 玄参, bitter, cold, eliminates the heat in the yin level. Sweet and cold, nourish yin and blood. So they are very similar. They can clear heat, cool the blood, they can stop bleeding. So it can be used for the heat in yin level, in blood level, and the deficiency heat, deficiency. and results the deficiency heat, sore throat or skin ulcers. In deficiency, the patient may present deficiency heat, so the patient may feel hot flashes, hot feelings in the bones. So in this situation, the patient will tell you that they feel hot, and the favorite sensation, it feels like it is from the bones. So you actually can, when you see this kind of patient, you actually can see, you can hear the description, the exact description from the patient, the feeling from the bones. Eliminates the heat, lung, such as coughing with blood. Stomach, 消渴, we talk about the thirsty. So that's the 玄声 you can use. Also because of it is cold. So a patient suffer from chronic diarrhea. It is not suitable. And also when we mention 玄声, there's one herb it is considered as incompatibility. So which one? You can refer to the previous notes. 牡丹皮 bitter cold. Bitter cold can cool the blood, can go to the blood level, clear heat and cooling the blood. Heat syndrome. So can clear heat and cool the blood. You can clear heat, you can use for heat syndrome. You can cool the blood, you can stop bleeding. This herb is also pungent and fragrant, so it can activate. You can activate the blood, you can use for blood stasis. As you can see that I highlighted here with stop bleeding and blood stasis. The reason why I highlighted here is because these two are conflicts. Stop bleeding is we stop bleeding. We're going to use for blood stasis, we actually want to activate the blood circulation. That's opposite to stop bleeding. So why we want to stop them, why we want to move them. This herb can stop bleeding, it also can activate blood. So this is a very typical and very special for this herb. The reason is when we use some herbs to stop bleeding. When you stop bleeding, you can't actually control the degree, how much you want to stop. If you stop bleeding, you stop too much, it will result in blood stasis because the blood doesn't move. If you activate the blood circulation, if you activate too much in a patient with blood stasis, when you activate too much, you may cause bleeding, right? So this is true. If you use one herb to stop bleeding, if you stop too much, it will result in blood stasis. If you use another herb to activate blood stasis, to activate the blood circulation, it also may result in bleeding. So what's very special in this herb is this herb has both of these two functions. It can stop bleeding without causing blood stasis. It can activate the blood circulation for blood stasis without causing bleeding. So that's very special. 水牛角 水牛角 is the buffalo horns. Bitter cold can go to the blood level, can clear heat and cool the blood, can be used for a heat syndrome, especially with bleeding. When we use this, we're going to pound it into powder, grind it into powder, and we're going to use as a powder form. It can be used for in an insufficiency syndrome, especially with deficiency heat. Patient may present with hot flashes and hot feelings in the bones. the liver meridian entered, the heart meridian entered. So we can use for palpitations. And also because of it is very heavy, we also can use for fear. Or some diseases that's caused by fear, we also can use. Because of this herb is very heavy, so the dosage we're going to use about 15 to 30 grams per dose. And because of this home is very difficult to get the ingredients out from the decoction. So we're going to cook longer. We can cook like 1 or 2 hours before the other herbs. So that will go through the session that's how to prepare the herbal medicine. Decoct first, decoct at the same time, or decoct later. So this herbs we need to decoct earlier, decoct first.